I can show up for pretty much anyone. I can remember what you need. I'll follow through for you. I'll be thoughtful. I'm an amazing gift giver. When it's me, I don't show up at all.
You're doing it all day for someone else. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being someone your brain registered as important.
How can I be the most reliable person in someone else's life and be completely unreliable to myself? This is Angry on the Inside. I'm Jess.
And I'm Jeannine. We're both certified ADHD coaches, but this podcast isn't coaching.
It's not therapy and it's not medical advice.
It's real, honest conversations about being women with late diagnosed ADHD and everything that goes along with it.
Take what resonates and leave the rest. Today, we're talking about why women with ADHD can be the most reliable person in someone's life and then completely abandon themselves.
This one is uncomfortable because from the outside, it doesn't make sense. A lot of things with ADHD don't make sense. But if you're capable, thoughtful, and you care, why does everything fall apart when it comes to you?
Because it's not about capability. It's about what your brain recognizes as something that matters right now. And ADHD brains don't prioritize based on importance. But until you hear it out loud, it can be hard to see how that would actually apply to this situation. My prioritization is based on what's immediate, what's visible, and typically what I can tie to another person.
There's a consequence. You might disappoint them. There's social pressure, deadline. This matters right now. But when it's you,
When it's you, there's no immediate consequence. No one's waiting. There's probably no one calling you out on it. And nothing actually falls apart. Your brain just quietly sidesteps your own needs. This will mess with you because from the outside, it looks like you've got your shit together. You are the person to rely on. You remember things, you follow through, you show up. When it's you and you can't do that, it doesn't feel like a pattern. That's just what trips us up so bad. What makes us feel like we've fallen just flat on our face when we haven't.
that hurts because it does start to feel like I just matter less.
It does feel like that. What's actually happening is your needs aren't being translated into something your brain can act on, which it does make my heart a little bit sad. We very much move ourselves into a secondary space. Many, many times we are an NPC in our own lives. Everybody says we give off main character energy, but typically we're trying to be the supporting character. We're trying to lift everyone up because that is what delivers urgency to us and it makes us feel better with our people pleasing. These are these things where we feel like we always have to be giving to someone for them to love us, to want us, to like us, to assign it to our own self-worth. But when it comes to our actual self-worth and our importance to ourselves, it's so funny how secondary we can make ourselves.
That really resonated with me, what you just said about always having to be giving something to somebody, right? Like that's your purpose is, I don't know, you're there to help others, to do things for them, to serve them. But you never register as somebody that deserves that same courtesy. I do think too, then you give those vibes out, right? Because, if you're not going to care about yourself or you don't put yourself number one, who is? I also think a lot of us got really good at being the dependable one. That became just part of who we are.
That's not random. I mean, if you grew up missing things, forgetting things, being called unreliable, you learn really fast that showing up for others sort of translates to safety. It translates to people loving you and depending on you and wanting you to be around. Your too muchedness becomes just enoughness because you're there and you're rallying for that.
It's like, this is how I prove I'm not who you think I am.
This is part of how we build our identity. It's very internally driven, but that's how we externally project it out into the world.
Yeah. I mean, it is like, I know how to show up when it's tied to someone else, but I never actually learned how to show up when it's just me.
That makes a good point. And I wonder if part of that is because we try not to slow down. We stay in that hyperspeed for as long as we can, from our 20s until we absolutely can't move anymore. Typically when we hit burnout. If I just keep moving, then I don't have to worry about myself. If I just keep making everybody else happy, then I will be happy by default because I will be surrounded by happy people.
Yeah.
And most of us were not surrounded by happy people as kids. as proof when we talk about those 20,000 negative comments that you've received before you're 12 years old. Those words that influence our lives. I had actually read a quote out of the book, The Power of Writing It Down, Alison Fallon. She said something to the effect of, the words that shape my world are different than the words that shaped yours. Have you spent any time thinking of the words that shaped yours? Think of all the words that have shaped our world and how different those words are for the neurodiverse community versus the neurotypical community. How strange is that?
Ours is like, I'm I'm undependable, I'm selfish. As if we see someone else doing something, they're thinking of themselves, they're taking some time. Um, you can understand when they choose not to be there all the time for somebody, need to step back. But for us, somehow, if we're not there all the time, worrying about something, doing something for somebody else, then we're not serving our purpose or we don't have value.
A lot of us, we just weren't taught that our internal needs count in the same way as others. And I do feel very strongly this one is very generationally driven.
Uh-huh.
The women of ADHD within our generations, the 40 something to 60 something ish women, we grew up in a group where we were very strongly taught to placate others, put others before ourselves, not just our children or our families or anything like that. Like everything was supposed to be put in front of us. And that's an outdated view that modern feminism is trying to slowly snuff out. So I won't say that current generations don't deal with this same shit. You know what I mean? But I will say that I think we are all trying very hard to sort of eliminate these types of things. This is where burnout starts to make sense, and you can really see the signs of it because you're constantly responding to the external demand, but you are also vehemently ignoring the internal demands that are coming from your body.
You're running a system where the only input is from other people, which is depressing.
It can be really upsetting. We get angry on the inside. We have so many emotions that are unprocessed. When we are looking back, we're just seeing everything in a whole new light, and it's overwhelming. Eventually, it comes to a head. Is when your body steps in. Your brain is no longer flagging your needs. And this can be as simple as you not realizing you need to go pee and 3 hours later remembering you were supposed to go pee. I mean, there are some things that, like on the autistic side, they'll say, oh, well, that's because you're not hearing the signals because there's too many signals.
Mhm.
But it also comes down to the fact that even though there's too many signals, you're putting everyone else's signals and well-beings first. When I had a group and I was in a management position, I would for real tell my group, please make sure to take bathroom breaks today. Please make sure that you guys have taken time to get up and take your breaks. Please make sure to take your lunch because no one's ever going to give it back to you and they're not going to pay you for it. Take that time for yourself. So many of them would rather pay their pants and cross their boundaries than take a 30-minute lunch and slow down
Yeah.
on the work that they're doing. We set ourselves on fire. If we keep doing that, our nervous systems will keep getting louder and louder until we have no choice but to shut down. Autistic burnout, ADHD burnout is different in the case that for most, when you reach the precipice, when you're at that height, when it's truly impacted you, for most people at shutdown, it can take upwards of 2 years to recover from that. That's data driven and it's very real. My grandmother on my on my father's side, she passed away many, many years ago. She was a mother of six, really, impressive woman. Um, Worked hard all her life, took care of her family, all of those things. But back in probably the 60s, um, my aunt had told me about how she just suddenly stopped responding to everything. She just shut down. And it took about 2 years for her to sort of come back completely. But she became very quiet. She became very introverted. She was a preacher's wife. So she was used to taking care of a lot, a big household, a farm. And everything just sort of came to a stop for about 2 years. And the way my aunt described it was that she'd shut down. And I often wonder if that would have been sort of the equivalent of burnout in her life and where she would have been. And it's interesting to sort of see that in that lens and how women were treated back then. It was a case that my aunt stepped in and she took care of the house and she took care of a lot of the cooking and things like that because she had her brothers and she had her father and, they had to be quote unquote taken care of. So it's not something new is what I guess I'm trying to say. This is not something new. This is not something that's popping up out of nowhere. Women have been experiencing this for, decades. You could probably easily say millennia, is the fact that we do not put ourselves first until our bodies literally force us to.
That is when it turns into the exhaustion that doesn't go away, that irritability that just feels out of proportion. And for me, this is what I can really relate to is when you have that, you just want to disappear, even from the people you care about. It is that when you get quiet and you just withdraw because you just got nothing left.
On the personal side, there are so many times at those extreme points where I just wish that I could go into the closet and close the door and just sit in the quiet. You imagine it in your mind, or to even slide underneath the bed. I could not fit under the bed if I freaking tried. Trust me, it would be a case they would be calling 911. I'd be stuck, legs out on one side, arms out on the other. All joking aside, those are the moments where you just want it to stop. And it can be so hard. To find your own silence.
Those are the moments that I really wish Bewitched was based on a true story. Because I so want to be able to stop everything, just freeze everything. I can walk around. I can do something. I can catch up with whatever I need to catch up. I can spend time with me, and everyone else is just frozen in place. And then when I'm ready, it all comes back into play.
Are we talking original Bewitched?
Yeah.
Like original TV Bewitched, or are we talking about movie Bewitched?
Original. Of course, the original.
I loved original Bewitched, and I love that freaking house. Her kitchen had one of those old school, really awesome stove oven combos, the ones that pull out. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like they have the drawer that pulls out, and that's what has the burners on it. Why the hell don't they make things like that anymore? It's like all these things that were so intelligently convenient, and they'd stop making them. This is a chapter of the story where we start to wonder what's wrong with us. We have got to get away from. There is nothing wrong, quotations, with us. Being wired different doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you less than in any way, shape, or form. So many of us feel that way. There's such an opportunity on our doorstep to reach out to one another, to let each other know this isn't the case. Reaffirm to one another that all of that negativity brought into our lives and that we're kind of thrust upon us, it doesn't have to be our story. We can change it together. We can change it by being with one another and by raising each other up and checking in on one another to make sure that we are giving ourselves grace. We are giving ourselves the attention that we deserve.
Oh, the uncomfortable part. Sometimes it just feels easier to show up for other people than for yourself.
I'm listening.
When it's me, there's no structure, no clear starting point, no immediate reward. There's a lot of emotion that's tied up into it all, which is another reason it just makes it easier to be there for others than to try to be there for yourself.
That's a biggie. Taking care of yourself isn't just logistical. It brings up a lot of things that we oftentimes try to avoid. And we might be avoiding that because of sensory issues or because of overwhelm or lack of urgency.
I think that's a lot of it. You just start really asking those hard questions of yourself that basically are just a different way of saying, what the fuck is wrong with me?
This is very much the moment where your brain can just step away from yourself. You shut it all down, you get left in the middle of the field somewhere in your brain. That big memory palace inside your brain. And it's like you just get dumped off somewhere. And what do you do? What do you do with that? Your brain needs the externalization. The reason you can show up for others is because their needs exist outside of you. We're all looking out into the world just waiting for something to happen, some initiation, some spark that will allow us to kind of go forth in the world. The shift here isn't try harder to show up for yourself. That's not realistic. It's never worked, and it's never going to work. If anything, it's one of those inset triggers that pisses us all off. Just try harder, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Let's all come and find these half-assed words of moral support that actually just tear us all down because God knows we need some more of that. For me, it was starting to understand that my brain needs that externalization. Why I can show up for others is because their needs exist outside of my own. They are external, they are outside of me, and I can easily make them a priority.
Right. Well, because they're visible, they're defined, and they feel more real.
They're immediately tangible. That's an interesting insight and a way to look at it. Other people's needs are these tangible items that like I can put my hands on. And my own needs, since they're internalized, they become intangible. It's so hard to wrap your head around intangible concepts, intangible assets, anything like that. People tend to kind of balk against because it's invisible, just like most of the labor that we do.
Yeah.
It's not coming out into the open. Now, other people will see it because we are external to them. Even with saying that, when we say that, you could think, well, if this is real, if this is actually how it works, then why isn't someone coming to my rescue? Why isn't someone there doing these things for me?
Well, because we hate asking for help. We want to be able to look like
Hmm.
we can do it ourselves. We want to look like we're perfect, and perfect people don't need help.
True, true. Well, all these people that you're giving help to, there's a good chance some of them have ADHD. Yes, there is. We're working really hard to make sure that others don't experience life in the way that we did. But in turn, we haven't figured out that balance. Some people will say there is no balance. There is no you versus them balance. But I truly feel that is incorrect. I do believe that we can find each other. We need to find that internal Pookie that we were talking about last time. Um, that person that we love and we care for and we talk softly to because nobody can be mean to Pookie.
Very true.
If this show resonated with you, send it to the person who never drops the ball for anyone else, but maybe for themselves.
Until next time, remember, you're not alone, and you're not the only one who's angry on the inside.